Well, good morning and welcome to Urban Agoge week 14, day 3. So while I was doing the math, actually I need to knock 4 weeks off the army camp, because it didn't start for 2 weeks. I had a week off with Dean and last week I pansied out, although I did do all the running. And that's what I've done this morning on Wednesday the 31st of July. So it was another one of those 1 minute jog, 1 minute run jobbies, and I ran for 15 minutes and 41 seconds to get back to the little snicket that I came down. The snicket's kind of an alleyway. I ran down to the little alleyway that leads me into the woods, so I can have a much flatter walk home, and B, it is unlikely that anybody else will come wandering down, so I get a full 5 or 10 minutes without having to switch off the camera. So yes, it was cool. Yeah, there is a whole willpower thing to running, and it does develop your willpower. It's one of the other things that can be said of it, you know, especially if you've been a bit round like me, or a bit unfit, and I was seriously unfit. So now, you know, that was like, I don't know, 1.51 miles or something. It'll be on the beginning of the video if I'm wrong. In 15 minutes and 40 seconds, cross country, where I'm not really pushing myself. So yeah, that's probably brought down my flat running time quite considerably, because it is very muddy. But yeah, but what I've found is that if you're listening to an audiobook instead of music, it's actually easier to maintain a longer run. That's just my personal preference. So yeah. So if you're currently running with music pounding in your ears, think about listening to an audiobook as you run, and you set your own pace a bit more easily. That's just in my experience. Okay, so the only other thing I've been doing apart from working, sleeping and the odd meal is playing with that 3D printer. So here's an update. So what I wanted to do, as I was speaking about yesterday, is get the second nozzle centered so I could do dual color prints. So what I did was I printed a dual color print to see what the alignment was, and it was crappy, and then I adjusted it back along the x-axis, which is the front of the machine, by 33 millimeters, and then printed out a dual color print, and it worked. I also had to lower the print head on the left hand extruder. So there is a, right in the middle, if you take off the fan and the heat sink, there is a little tiny hex nut, like recessed fully into the block. So I released that a little bit, pushed down the print head a little bit, so it was level by eye, and yeah, that seemed to do the trick. I mean, still the adhesion was horrendous, it was rubbish. So what I did was I went into the settings of matter control, which is actually the name of the piece of software I'm using, and increased the temperature for both nozzles to 220 Celsius, because they're all measured in Celsius, I think. I don't think any of them are measured in Fahrenheit. And increase the heat bed temperature to 70 Celsius. And it turns out that for the right hand extruder, the one with the filament I purchased in, that was a really good temperature. And then I printed off another sample print, and it seemed to go really well. So the current sample prints I'm doing are little miniatures, because miniatures have sticky out bits. And whilst I'm super confident that I can print, you know, square shapes and stuff like that, so structural shapes are going to be fairly easy. And I've learned how to orientate stuff for, you know, printing out in the most sensible way, which is how I printed the spool holders. and now it's to be able to print things with sticky out bits. So yeah, so the nozzle was dropped, the bed was re-leveled. Wow. I don't know if you can see that. You saw that even briefly on camera. Hopefully you did. A little swallow flew all the way around me. This is why you get out into the woods. Hence, you know, I saw a kingfisher the other day. Get out into the woods often enough, you vastly increase your chances of seeing interesting wildlife. Although if you live somewhere like America or Eastern Europe, then interesting wildlife could include bears and wolves. But yeah, so all the things I set, pardon me. So all the things I set out to achieve yesterday with the 3D printing are all down, and now I'm learning about the settings for supports, so that you can have bits that jut out, and there's a little tiny column of the plastic to support it so it doesn't droop. So the first miniature I printed had a lot of droop because, quite frankly, it did an amazing job since it was printing out over thin air, and 3D printers can't do that, they print on the previous layer. So yeah, so now I need to get the supports thin enough to be able to easily break off when I've got the completed model, but thick enough to support any part of the model. So there's one printing at home now while I've been out on my run, and we'll see. But what I thought I'd do is I'd try and print the support material using the crappy brittle red filament that I got free with the printer, and see if maybe I can just print the support material with that and print the main model with sorry, this is a bit slippery here because it did rain yesterday and this morning, and if I can print the rest of the model with the good grey filament that I bought before the printer arrived. So yeah, so there could be use for really nasty cheap filament if you're using a 2 extruder printer. So I'm going to do a few videos. I'm going to split it all up because it's probably too much to deal with all in one video. There's a lot of stuff to take in about my experience with this particular printer and with this particular software. So matter control is the only piece of software you actually need once you've got your 3-dimensional model from somewhere like Thingiverse, and then you export the file. For this particular printer it takes 3GX code instead of G code or any other format, so it's limited in format, which is why I can't really use Cura, because Cura doesn't seem to add anything. It just treats it as a standard STL file, which 3D printers can't print, unless you've got a really snazzy one which will print straight from an STL file. But I don't think that would necessarily be good, because here's the thing, 3D printers are quite simple machines. Back, forward, up, down, lay down filament, don't lay down filament, that kind of thing. Heat up bed, heat up filament nozzle, feed filament. That's all it does. So it's only got to control about 6 or 7 things based on the information in the file. So where you've got to do all the clever stuff is in the file settings before you even plug it into your printer. Ooh, proper slippy bit. Let's go and have a look at the water. This is like LGR's Lucky Rock, isn't it? Let's have a look at the river. See if the river's madly messed up. It sounds it. Christ, it's slippery. Must have rained really hard last night. I'm amazed I got a nice rain-free window to do my run in this video this morning. So we maybe are not walking down to the entrance of that drainage tunnel to see what the river's doing. And I don't really feel like walking all the way down to the river. It's very busy. Let's have a look what sort of surface I'd be walking down on. If it's mud, I think it's mostly gravel. If it's gravel, then I'll go down. Yeah. And it is starting to rain. Tell you what, I'm not actually that fussed that it's raining, to be honest. Yeah, it is running real fast. That means that down by the river it's probably really hectic. So yeah, so I think over the course of today, or over the course of the next couple of weeks, that riverbed is going to be reshaped just purely through the amount of water that's going down the River Medlock. So yeah. Whew. So yeah. So the important thing with 3D printing is to get your file completely sorted before you give it to your printer, and to understand the settings that your printer prefers. So I will be doing a series for this printer and this piece of software, because there doesn't seem to be anything on YouTube that I can find easily that literally tells you how to set it up for best results. I'll keep looking, and if I find one I'll let you guys know, but if not, I'll do a short series of videos on the printer. But yeah, just the idea that you can run off your own stuff. I mean, I've got a load of USB to HDD connectors. And yeah, I could probably do with a few laptop hard drive caddies. That'd be a thing to do, save me ordering stuff from China. So yeah, so I'm going to leave it there. So thanks for watching, and do take care.